Have you ever wondered if you're using the Orders module in Touchworks as effectively as possible? Here are some tips that might help.
When you go to place an order, notice that in the Order module for labs, for example, there's a long screen that you can scroll to the right and have multiple items in your favorites list. Sometimes the favorites list is unmanageably long. In order to clean this up, you can always right-click and uncheck Favorite Item to have it fall off of your favorites list for the future. Similarly, if you search and find items that are not on your favorites list, blood methanol, and you would like to add it, you can check it and add it to your favorite items. Next time you return to your favorites list, you'll find that the added item is visible on the first page of your orders. Similarly, you can clean up your prescriptions page for favorites, your imaging page for favorites, and your follow-up referrals page for favorites. Only the consults that I send most frequently end up on this main page. Keep in mind that you should always start with a diagnosis prior to setting any orders in the Orders module. For example, in the Lab Diagnostics section, you could select abdominal pain and choose, say, albumin and liver enzymes, and then on top of that you would uncheck abdominal pain and come down and select hyperlipidemia, perhaps for a lipid panel. Then your lab orders would each have the correct diagnosis associated with them. Unfortunately, compared with version 10, selecting multiple diagnoses does not correctly run the medical necessity checker against all diagnoses for all labs. Also remember that setting a future date in this field allows you to select laboratories to be performed in the future. This applies only to laboratory tests. Consultations and radiology studies ordered on this system always immediately are transmitted. Sometimes you'd like to order a radiology study to be performed, say, 3 or 6 months in the future. Unfortunately, the Touchworks system does not allow you to do that directly. Instead, we recommend that you leave this screen and go back to your task list. From your task list, you can start a new task reminder to yourself. Generally, you'd say that this would be a go to task. You would send it to yourself as the user. Send it to yourself, not to me, please, and say CT abdomen for 3 months from now, say August 19th, 09. From here you can choose that date. Instead of May, you would make it be performed in August. And now on August 19th I will get a task in my task box popping up on that date to remind me to order a CAT scan. You may know that Touchworks has a built-in medical necessity checker. This means that it helps clinicians associate the appropriate diagnosis with tests that clinicians want to order. There is, however, one place where Touchworks necessity checker is actually incorrect. That's for screening colonoscopy. Let me show you how this works. In the History Builder, you can search for diagnoses including ICD-9 codes directly. For example, I happen to know that the correct code for screening colonoscopy is V76. Searching for this term actually finds all of the V76 codes, including the V76.51, screening malignant neoplasm colon. For diagnoses that you use frequently, remember to select them as your favorite item so that they come up quicker when you are searching for them. I'll go ahead and select this diagnosis, and then move over to the Order section and select Referrals. From here, if I type GI, colonoscopy asymptomatic is part of my favorites list and comes up immediately. I right-click and edit, and I'll get a failed medical necessity checking screen. In this particular case, the screening is incorrect. I would cancel, and this allows you to actually move forward and override the necessity checker. Generally, I do not recommend doing this, except in this particular case. You'll notice now that it still links to visit for screening malignant neoplasm colon, which actually does pass Medicare checking rules. Notice that the detail questions in this particular order and other endoscopy orders will be substantially simplified in the coming weeks as we work with our GI colleagues.
Want to learn more? From the Touchworks login screen, click on Tips and Tricks.